Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
Okay, we are rolling. It is Gridiron Grinder time. I'm Ryan. With me, as always, is my buddy James. Just a couple of dudes hanging out, talking about what's going on in the NFL each week. This is episode 222 of Gridiron Grinder. And for tonight, we're going to kick things off with Name That Stadium. Then we're going to cover the news from this past week, short week. After that, we're going to give you guys our, upcoming free agency. We're going to do a little AFC free agency matchmaker, whatever you want to call it. And then last but not least, we're going to close it off with our question of the week. And so, with all that being said, how's it going tonight there, James?
It's going all right. How you doing?
Oh, not too shabby, man. Just sipping on my peerless double oak from the this side of the whiskey bet. And so, I went in, fulfilled my half, and it's quite enjoyable, to be honest.
I haven't. I know which one I'm probably going to get. It's probably going to be the 13-year Widow Jane.
Nice. Very nice.
No, this is the 10-year, but I've seen the 13-year more consistently at the Total Wine and More, so I think that's the one I'm going to get. I just have to go out and get it. I have to actually leave my house.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how it is out there, but I know some of them here supposedly, well, I guess maybe it's not Total Wine, it's like Drizzly or something says that they'll like deliver it for you. But I know like different states and areas, everything's all weird with how that works for alcohol.
Yeah, so nobody fucking delivers to my area. Like, I kid you not, to my house, there's a Domino's Pizza 2 miles away. And my house is not within their delivery radius.
Well, they just got a tiny little range.
Or they just don't want to fucking drive to my house.
That could be.
Because everything that's close, really close, food-wise, is really one city, and I'm in a different city, technically.
What about DoorDash?
We can't even get it on DoorDash. I just wanted
Holy cow, man, that's weird.
I wanted a fucking cheap Domino's pizza. I was like, ooh, that sounds good. Give me a pizza. I need something to eat. Nope, we don't deliver there. DoorDash. Nope, don't deliver there. Grubhub. Nope, don't have it. So all these only pizza places that deliver here are the like expensive like craft pizza places.
Okay, well, that just means you got to get in the car and go for a couple mile drive.
Yeah, but who feels like doing that when I can just order something else and get it delivered?
Or pop in a DiGiorno. I like to do that on occasion. They got a really good stuffed crust. So, but that's my jam.
Yeah. Our freezer space is taken up by some bullshit right now, so.
Oh, some stuff that maybe you told me about previously that.
No, that's not there.
That was taken care of. Okay.
Now it's.
Now our viewers are like, wait a minute. Do we need to be calling the police here? No, it's not like that.
Well, it depends on. No, I'm just kidding. It's not like that. But
okay.
Also, I do have 3-year-old kids, so it's just stuffed with shit that we can easily pop in the fucking
chicken
oven
nuggets.
or microwave chicken nuggets and tater tots and fish sticks and Uncrustables and
oh yeah, the good stuff.
And some like a lot of quick dinner stuff and we have the freezer part of the fridge, and then we have another separate freezer that is just jam-packed. So we gotta go in and organize it, and kind of probably the deep freeze we gotta defrost it because it's starting to get a little nice layer of ice on it that's taking up some room.
All right. Well, that I guess is something for you to worry about another day.
Way more information than anybody fucking wanted. Go ahead and
no biggie. But yeah, whenever you're ready, dude, do some name that stadium for us.
All right. Even though nobody plays, I'm traveling around different stadiums that host NFL games or generally has something to do with the week we're talking about. First person guess right. Get an extra special shout out. Bookmark it, play it back for your friends. Just guess. You'll get a little shout out, and we'll bookmark it, maybe make fun of you being wrong. This one should be obvious because you can see the frickin' name like right above my head. It's like right here. right here,
Yes.
right here.
Former, head coach, quarterback, won quite a few Super Bowls there.
Yeah, I don't know. It's in Foxborough, Massachusetts.
Yes.
But anyways, last week I was at Cincinnati because we were talking about franchise tag, and like there was one team that clear cut that was going to use the franchise tag and is going to use I'm assuming he's going to use the franchise tag. Apparently they haven't yet, but so I picked Cincinnati.
T. Higgy, I like
T.
it.
Higgins hasn't been tagged yet, though. I think they have another week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pulling up the news right now, but I haven't seen anybody get tagged yet.
I have not seen anyone get tagged either.
And we were talking about maybe this is like, a down year for teams using the tag, but there's still plenty of time for them to figure that out, I suppose. And yeah, I mean, hey, I guess on that note, how about we just segue over? Let's do our recap of the past week, man.
All right, sounds good. And I looked it up. They have till March 4th, which is Tuesday.
Another weekish. Yeah.
Yeah, about a week. So we'll see what happens. But news-wise, I had only a couple things really. What did you get?
Yeah, I mean, we're starting to get into that time of year where you get sort of like speculation stuff, right? And then some of it's maybe not necessarily speculation. It's like, it's out there, but whether anything happens or not is to be determined, such as, the 49ers are saying that they're going to honor Deebo Samuel's trade request. The Packers are potentially looking at moving Jair Alexander. Harold Landry for the Titans. The linebacker has asked for a trade. The Rams, which is a weird one, gave Stafford permission to talk to other teams, but apparently they're doing that as a way of gauging what his value is because they want to keep him. They just don't want to overpay him, which I guess if I'm another team and I know that, I'm probably not going to like take the conversation too seriously or too far with Stafford, man.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a weird tactic, but I guess I understand why they're trying to do it. They just, whatever. And then, yeah, I guess other than that stuff, like what tangible do we have? Oh, Myles Garrett, he requested his trade. Their GM, Andrew Berry, this week is the scouting combine. And so that started. And that's where a lot of these things, the flurry of these like requests and things come out. Andrew Berry's, he's saying he's digging in his heels that they're not planning on trading Myles Garrett. But, part of me has got to believe that that's just his tactic for boosting the trade value. And maybe they won't. And then you get into one of these deals where he holds out and whatever happens, blah, 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 blah. But, that's just kind of like that part of what I've been seeing so far.
Yeah, so one thing I saw, and I forget his name, but Atlanta said that their plan going into the 2025 season is to have Kirk Cousins back up.
Yeah. Highest
like,
paid backup all time.
What the fuck are they smoking?
It's because they're in a stalemate, it sounds like, with him, where he's not really talking to them and agreeing to like accommodate a trade request because he wants to be released so he can sign with any team he wants. And so he feels like he has the leverage of, well, I'm going to get paid a ton of money to be a backup unless they release me. And so, for Cousins, I actually kind of like his approach because fuck them for getting themselves into this mess. But at the same time, it's like, it sucks. It's like, if he was like a 10-year player on the team or something, and, like there was like, like a change of like a regime and it was just like, okay, it's time for me to go my own way or whatever, then I could see maybe you're a little more friendly with the team. But man, they fouled this up so bad that, Cousins just needs to do what he needs to do now.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. I other thing I came across was an interesting article. So with the NFLPA, and I kind of wanted to touch on some things in this. They have their players grade basically everything about the organization that they played for. Treatment of families, food and dining area, dietitian, nutritionist, locker room, training staff, weight room, strength coaches, team travel, head coach, and ownership.
Okay.
And so they rate it out of 10. And so the ones I thought were funny. And some of them surprised me because, like, how the fuck do you get some of these grades? Like, I thought you had, like A plus through F. I didn't think there was anything below F, but apparently some of these teams were rated F minuses in some of this stuff.
Okay.
Um,
What are
so,
they
like,
putting out Taco Bell meat?
there's no real details about it. So the first one, obviously, I'd wanted to touch on was Detroit. Detroit overall rating in the NFL was 9th out of 32.
Okay. So in the top third, which is nice.
Top third. A couple of key things that the only thing that was below a B minus, and it was barely below a B minus, was locker room.
Okay.
Locker room was rated at a C plus. But the thing I liked, and I kind of saw this as a possibility. I know we were unsure when they hired Dan Campbell. And, like, well, hasn't been a head coach. What is he going to do? And you were talking that more. I was more of a wait and see type of person. Well, the players rated Dan Campbell A plus.
Well, hell yeah. I mean, obviously they'd run through a wall for him.
So 100% of Lions believe their head coach is efficient with their time. He is one of 6 coaches across the league to receive a perfect score from players.
Nice.
And the things that I found funny is like especially after seeing what Arizona did after the wildfires, I would think that their treatment of families would have been higher. But Arizona got a D plus on treatment of families. Cincinnati got an F minus on treatment of families.
Okay.
And Jacksonville was the only other one that was an F. But in ownership wise, the New York Jets owner got an F.
Yeah, he's like an absent owner, but then shows up when he feels like just firing people.
So perceived willingness to invest in the facilities is 5.5 out of 10. He didn't contribute positive to the team culture, and he's somewhat committed to building a competitive team, ranked 31 out of 32. For ownership, but like it's just something I saw that I thought was interesting. Kind of change it up how the players really feel about their organization.
Oh yeah.
Like for travel, I think it was Buffalo. For team travel, Buffalo got an F minus.
Okay.
only 35% of players feel they have a comfortable amount of personal space on team flights.
Well,
And
they're big dudes.
And the travel is inefficient.
You got to fly and coach. That's going to be a problem.
and they're like, part of it is like the travel schedule. Like, but sometimes you can't. There's not much you can do about
Yeah,
that.
that's out of their control.
Yeah, but like I said, I just found it interesting. I'd seen that Woody Johnson got an F, and was the only owner in the league to get an F minus.
Good. Fuck him with an F. Ha ha.
And I'm trying to see. I'm just glancing if they say where he was last year.
Yeah, while you're looking at that, I'll just.
No, it doesn't say.
Okay. Yeah, I was just. Man, I did see this a couple days ago, whenever it was, maybe yesterday or whatever, about the Colts making the comment that Anthony Richardson's going to have to compete if he wants the QB1 job. And I thought, rightfully so, man. I mean, we talked about it a handful of times last year when the dude pulled himself out of the game. It's like, oh, he just like totally is just not. I don't know, man. I've never seen anything like that before. It just it's weird. It's weird. But yeah, I'm glad that they did that, setting the tone. He showed zero development in year two. And, if anything, he's showing that he doesn't deserve the job by doing crap like that. So,
See, I'm surprised that they're still giving him a chance. Like,
yeah,
honestly, like after that shit, like, I kid you not, if I was the owner and I saw owner of an NFL team and I saw my player pull himself out of the game and then say in the press conference he was tired, the
yeah.
next day I would have been calling the GM into my office and said, "You fucking cutting him tomorrow."
I think they're
Fucking
saying, hey, he was a high first round pick. We're basically putting him on notice that he's got 6 months to get his shit together and live up to that, or he's just going to fizzle out in the NFL. Because we'll put him on the pine, and other teams, trust me, are watching. So I think it was a smart move on their part. But yeah, I mean, you know, if I'm the Colts, I'm thinking maybe you go after a guy like Cousins or somebody else, because it's like, fuck this guy, dude. Put him on the bench. If they were winning games the year before with Gardner Minshew.
hmm
I mean, the talent is there. You just need to have a quarterback that can be a little bit smarter. So,
yeah. Well, you have to have a quarterback that's fucking willing to do his job.
yeah, be a professional. And then I did see that offensive tackle Jason Peters is retiring. Looks like he's going to be joining the Seahawks front office. And
Hmm.
so I didn't read the article. I don't know how long he's been in the league, but he's a 9-time Pro Bowler. He's been around a while. Really
Yeah,
good.
he has. He's been around a while. Once I get done pouring myself another little glass, I will look it up.
Sure.
But I want to say he's been around. I want to say 13 years, but
Okay. And yeah, while you're
this
looking that up, I also saw the Packers proposed a rule to ban the tush push, which, I mean, like what? You hate it because it doesn't work for you? I mean, come on. So many teams have tried to mimic it and have not been successful at it. I don't know that you can eliminate that play. Philly is just, they were creative and it fucking works for them, man.
so he was in the league 21 years. He was drafted in 2004.
I knew it was a while, but damn, dude, that's a long time.
Yeah. So in regards to the tush push, so I don't think that sounds good.
All right, homie, we are back. We are rolling. We'll do a little snip of the not of what you were saying. A little snip of the little snip of the episode here when we do some editing. All right, so to keep it going on the news. Oh, Travis Kelsey, I might retire a week before the Super Bowl. Maybe get my team fired up to win. No, he's coming back. Come on. We knew he was coming back, just his bullshit publicity crap. And then the Bills, they've extended wide receiver Khalil Shakir to a 4-year contract up to $60.2 million. Good for him. He was good for them this past year. So, and in previous years, but mostly this past year.
So, a couple things as news is coming out with, like what the changes that the NFL rule changes that the NFL is considering.
Yep.
For this year, and one of them is the OT rule, where they're going to change the regular season overtime rule to, or considering changing the regular season overtime rule to the postseason overtime rule, where no matter what, both teams have a chance to possess the ball. Which, I mean, I think that if anything, that for the regular season, that might lead to more ties than we've seen in the past.
I got you.
And they're going to implement a virtual measuring system to determine first downs. It wouldn't eliminate the officials who manually spot the ball and use chains. It's to tracking system notifies officiating instantly if a first time down was gained after the ball is spotted by hand.
Okay.
So it's kind of, it's a step in the right direction, but they have to do something for like the spotting of the ball.
Yeah. I did miss one other trade thing. So I guess the Commanders have granted defensive lineman Jonathan Allen permission to seek a trade, which that one kind of caught me off guard, right? Because they made it to the playoffs, won a playoff game, actually won 2 playoff games, and you would think he would want to stay with that team. So there must be something else going on. Maybe they were asking him to take a pay cut or something. I don't know. But, normally guys in that kind of situation want to stick around and be a part of the run. And that run is just beginning. But who knows what's going on behind closed doors?
Yeah, so, and then because you had mentioned the tush push, and that's what we're talking about before the interruption. I think you could make the argument for getting rid of it as how protected the quarterback is, because if you're doing tush push with the quarterback, there's a high potential for injury there, but there weren't really that many injuries that have been seen with it.
Oh, yeah, I guess Chris Jones did have a neck injury in the Super Bowl on a tush push.
Yeah. So, and also they're considering something to fix the disparity that happened with the dynamic kickoff and the onside kick, because apparently through the season, I just saw the stat. I think it was teams were 3 for 50 on onside kicks. 1.5% for those can't do math. They're looking at a 4th and long option to keep possession instead of the onside kick.
Okay.
Which, I mean, it depends on what the 4th and longs are, but they're also considering moving the touchback on kickoffs that don't land in the landing zone from the 30 to the 35-yard line.
Okay.
To make it more of a penalty for causing a touchback, to keep the kickoff alive and the kickoff return alive.
Yeah, because it seemed like a lot of teams eventually just kind of said, no, we're just going to boot it out of the end zone because it's only a 5-yard difference from what we were used to anyhow.
Yeah.
But if you make it 10 yards, then yeah, I could see it. It's like, at what point is it like, damn, I guess we really need to be kicking it into this range?
Yeah, and that's always on news wise, but in possible trade scenarios, Jonah Jackson has been granted permission to
Okay.
seek a trade from the Rams. He signed a 3-year, $51 million contract last year, and he missed most of training camp and ended up on the IR and then was benched.
Well, I'm glad that
So,
the Lions didn't sign him to the big bucks.
yeah, so I guess on March 14th he gets 8.5 million guaranteed.
Gotcha.
So we'll see. And I agree. I'm so glad the Lions didn't sign him to the big bucks because he had
Yeah.
a shit year.
All right. Well, is that all you see on the news there, bud?
Mm. Besides the fact that the underwear Olympics started this week.
Oh, the underwear Olympics.
Yes, the combine.
Yeah, I did kind of just mention it briefly earlier, but yeah, the combine is in full force and effect, and I'm sure next week we'll be talking about who was the fastest player and who benched the most reps. And I really like the combine. I'm hoping I get more time to watch it this year.
Yeah, I joke and call it the underwear Olympics because it's people running around in their
Yeah,
underwear.
no, you're right. I've heard it called that before, but yeah, I don't know, dude. It's weird. I actually enjoy watching it. I feel like if you're a really good football fan and you like to analyze what's going on, you can actually find those diamond in the rough players at the combine. But you can also fall in love with a guy that had a blazing fast 40, John Ross, that doesn't really end up living up to the bill in the NFL. So you just never know.
I just saw this and I'm literally reading the article now, but I did not know this. I don't know if you've seen this, but apparently Cousins was injured from week 11 forward in the
Oh, I
NFL
didn't know
season.
that. No.
Um, yeah, he put him on the injury report during week 11. He had limited practice due to right shoulder and right elbow issue. Cousins chalked up the injury
Oh,
report
the
appearance.
throwing arm. What do you know? Is that why he went from the league's top passer, like, and fell off a cliff?
Yeah. So besides that, blah blah blah. So I'm trying to look at teams. Cousins said on NFL Network during Super Bowl week that he got hit in week 10 against New Orleans and hurt his right shoulder and elbow. The arm, Cousins said, never got back to where he wanted it to be the rest of the season.
Ah.
And the Falcons staff is saying, we never knew this.
Oh, yeah, convenient.
The quarterback, he struggled after week 10, and beyond that single injury report, that's the only time he was on the injury report. And they said he was on the injury report that 1 week. When a player's injured, we put him on the injury report, and that's the only time he was on the injury report. So as far as we're concerned, that's the only injury we're aware of.
Yeah, whatever. They're douchebags.
Yeah, so I just kind of find that interesting. I don't know if it's Cousins, like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Posturing.
Posturing or what, but you know what? Falcons said that they're going to keep him as the backup, so
Yeah, so what does it matter? All right, James, well,
what
why
does
don't
it
we move
matter?
on, man?
Yeah, we can move on.
Okay, the main event. Let's do a little AFC free agency matchmaking. And so, the last few years when we've done this, we have, I got a little spreadsheet that I shared, and I have listed the top 101 free agents according to NFL.com. I've also sorted it by position. And then we've got sort of just an open sheet here, sorted by AFC and NFC teams, where we can, sort of just explore what's their cap space, what are their biggest needs, and then who are maybe some of like the likely targets or good fits for them, whether or not they actually go after them or not. And I do like to reference the Chad Reuter article. He does the 2025 NFL draft order for round one, top 5 needs for each team. That's a good one to reference. You and I can kind of debate whether or not we agree with that as we look at it, because sometimes we know, a team is really okay on the offensive line, or, yeah, they probably need a wide receiver more than this or whatever. And so, um, you know, that's my 2 cents on how we go about it.
Sounds good to me.
All right.
I'm not going to be able to fill this in real quick. So you want to go by division or just alphabetically for the, or do you want to go by draft position?
I say we go by, let's go alphabetical, and, we'll just kind of like zip up and down the Reuter article to get the team needs. And so the first team we're looking at is the Baltimore Ravens. And I thought it would be good just to point out, according to Over the Cap, where are the Ravens?
They have 12.766 million in cap space.
Okay. I'll just say 12.8 mil in cap space. And Reuter is saying for their team needs, we're looking at offensive tackle, wide receiver, edge, offensive guard, and safety. For sure, offensive line is a big priority. We know Ronnie Stanley's hanging out there. They mentioned Patrick McCurry's hitting the open market. So I agree with that. Wide receiver, I don't know, man. Do they really need another wide receiver? But I guess it doesn't hurt to stack it, with the way they want to run that offense maybe. Edge, I would see as more of a priority than wide receiver because the defense did drop off last year. And then the same with safety. What do you think, man?
So, 1 second. I just was throwing some of them in there while you were talking. So I think like they're kind of, if you want to go biggest needs wise for Baltimore, I would say probably cornerback is up there. They don't even have that on this list. According to my research,
cornerback
was up there. But it's also because apparently, I guess.
Yeah, let's take a look at their lineups here and see what they got going on. And I know some of these guys are going to be listed and they're going to be free agents, but cornerback Marlon Humphrey, Tre'Davious White, and I mean then it falls off a bit. So
yeah, and Tre'Davious White didn't fill the role that as the CB2 that they need.
And then at safety they still got Kyle Hamilton and Marcus Williams. Oh, maybe Marcus Williams was he going to be a free agent? Either way, I'm with you. I would probably put cornerback is a higher need than safety.
So I'm not seeing Marcus Williams as a free agent.
If he's not, then they're in great shape at safety.
See if where are they? We just check this because I'm not seeing him We said Marcus Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still under contract. He's under contract through the 20. Oh, he's not under contract. 2025 is a void year.
Okay.
That's what it is. So yeah, so safety is another need.
I'd still put cornerback as a higher priority.
Yeah,
though.
I would put corner as a higher priority.
So what do you want to do for top three? Let's just say offensive line, edge, and then let's just say DB, and then we can look at our targets, and that gives us some flexibility whether we're going guard, tackle, or cornerback, safety. And I would skip on the wide receiver. I don't think that's a top three.
Yeah, I don't think wide receivers a top three. I mean, they are kind of still looking for.
They got Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, and then you got two good tight ends, man. And so, whatever they do at wide receiver 3, 4, whatever, I think they're good at wide receiver. At least in terms of it not being a top three need.
So why is edge a need?
Oh, they had issues last year on the defensive line, man.
So yeah, but they run a 3-4, so it's really linebacker that's their edge rushers.
They kind of have. I mean, I guess you could say it's defensive end / linebacker, right? And at defensive end, they got nothing worth talking about. At linebacker, you got Roquan Smith, but he's on the inside. You got Ojabo developing. You got Owe, Van Noy. I don't know, is Van Noy a free agent? I mean, he did have a pretty good year for him, but.
Van Noy is not. Let me verify. Van Noy is not a free agent.
Okay. I mean, I still, when you think about Baltimore and their defense, I think you got to have that be.
No, I'll give that to you. I just I wanted to talk about it. So
Sure.
O-line, offensive line, cornerback, edge, or other way around. I would go that way.
Yeah, we'll go OL, DB, edge.
Yeah.
And then that way there's flexibility for the offensive line or the defensive backfield. And so if those are their priorities, they've only got $12.8 million in space.
So you're looking at like middle of the road, hoping you hit.
Yeah, and finding some value because they're not going to, have a huge splash. I mean, there are some edge guys for sure. You could take a chance on Marcus Davenport, injured for the Lions last year. You could go after Chauncey Golston from the Cowboys. At cornerback, there's Rasul Douglas. He's kind of bounced around looking for sort of like championship caliber teams. You got Mike Jackson. Heck, even maybe Stephon Gilmore, you do a 1-year deal on him. He did pretty good for Minnesota last year. So you got a couple options there. And then I think for the offensive line, honestly, I think offensive line, it's all going to depend on, probably this whole thing all depends on what they do with Ronnie Stanley.
Uh-huh.
Because if they tag him or sign him to a deal, none of these other things are going to be addressed.
Yeah.
Not off the top 101 list.
But that should be their number one priority, is signing him or
bringing back their left tackle.
Yeah. Bring back their left tackle. That should be their number one priority, number 2 priority, number 3 priority. Everything else doesn't matter if they don't have that left tackle there.
Yeah, let's just pop him in there. Target 1, Ronnie Stanley. And I'm going to make a comment that nothing else really can be addressed. They got to bring him back.
Yeah.
which would take us to Buffalo.
So Buffalo they're 10 million over the cap currently.
Oh, sons of bitches.
Yeah. So I mean that really limits what they can do. If you want it's 10.1 million to be exact.
Okay.
Um,
They're going to need, according to Chad Reuter, defensive tackle, wide receiver, edge, cornerback, safety. If we're going to boil this down to three, we can do something similar like we did with Baltimore, where we do just DL and DB. And then, I mean, I don't know. Is wide receiver really that huge of a need? Amari Cooper's gone, but he didn't really do a ton for them. And Josh Allen won the MVP with all the rest of those guys at wide receiver, man.
yeah, like I don't think wide receiver is really a need for them. Yeah, they lost Amari Cooper, but like you said, he was really through the season he was probably their number 3, if that. Like I mean, what's his name? Hollins or Hollis was more important to the team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I know James Cook is pushing for a deal. Um, man, what do you do if you're Buffalo? I mean, the cap is going to hurt them, but if they had a third need, I would probably put it on offensive line, man. I mean, we've kind of talked about their offensive line being a little bit suspect for a while.
But but here's the thing with it though, is Allen doesn't really get sacked that much from.
I know, but at the same time, at what point in his career do you need to protect him more and reduce that liability?
True.
I mean, I think the rest of the roster looks pretty solid, to be honest. I'm looking at lineups. We can avoid the consolidation and we can do defensive tackle, edge, defensive back is the top three. I think if you pop OL in there, it gives you a little more flexibility, even though they got nothing to spend on anyhow.
Yeah, like and there's where the problem is. So I think defensive tackle is. I think we have to do it that way. Defensive tackle, edge, and then DB because
Let's do it.
they need a run stopper. So they need that guy in the middle. But then who, like with 10 million over the cap, what the fuck are they really gonna do?
They're just going to have to look to the draft, man.
Yeah, they like maybe try to get like DJ Jones on the cheap, but you still have to figure out how to get under the cap.
Yeah.
I don't really see them targeting anyone. I'm going to say that they're going to have to build in the draft.
Yeah. Let's just do that. They're going to be one of these teams that are, they're not primed to go after a top 101. So we're going to leave them wide open, saying their cap space is going to push them to go to the draft. We know in the fake cap era, teams can kind of finagle and do some things, but for now, I don't know, man. I think we'd just be throwing a dart to put somebody in there.
Yeah.
All right, that takes us to the Bengals.
So the Bengals have projected 61.7 million in cap space. And then
and they're talking about re-signing T. Higgins, Trey Hendrickson, and who's the other guy they were talking about re-signing? I know there was one more. Who am I missing? It was in the news, but I didn't cover it because it was just a puff piece thing. Let's see if I can find it.
It was like Gesicki?
No, not Gesicki. Oh, they gotta re-sign Jamar Chase still.
Uh, but
They got 3 big contracts they got to pump out there.
yeah, but they don't have to do Jamar Chase this year. Jamar Chase is still under contract under his rookie deal for at least one more year.
Correct, but they're saying they're trying to get all 3 of them done this year. And if they do, they're not doing shit on the top 101 list. I mean, I guess they would be taking T. Higgins off of it. So let's just pop him in there as their top target.
Yeah, so further targets,
Oh yeah, we didn't go through
we,
there. Yeah.
we skip that. So targets according to Reuters, wide receiver, tight end. They don't really use the tight end. I'm not that concerned about that. These are the big one: offensive tackle, offensive guard, and cornerback. I
Yeah.
would I would separate out tackle and guard, and because I
Just
need a
do
lot
offensive
on.
line. Oh no, you
No,
want
I
them
would
separated.
separate it. I would do wide receiver, offensive tackle, and offensive guard.
Yeah, man, they've been putting money into that offensive line and they just can't seem to figure it out. But you're right. How many times you gonna let frickin' Joe Burrow get hurt? You got lucky it didn't happen last year, but um, I agree with you. I think Burrow's basically saying we got to bring T. Higgins back.
Yeah,
And when you look at how offensive centric they are, that's your top priority. After that, you go offensive line. If they're trying to extend Jamar Chase and Trey Hendrickson, I think that knocks them out from being able to do anything other than go to the draft. But what are your thoughts, man?
So we have T. Higgins. It's obviously number one priority for them. And then I put in a comment: too many big names need to resign.
Yeah, let's just leave it at that.
Which brings us to no wonder. I always see this and I always say, no wonder Myles Garrett wants out.
Yeah, Cleveland Browns.
They are almost 24 million over the cap.
Jeez.
With Myles Garrett wanting out, they obviously need edge. They need a quarterback. They need. I want to wide receiver. According to Reuters, they say wide receiver. I don't. Unless was because didn't they bring in?
I'm pulling them up right now. I mean, a wide receiver, they got Jerry Jeudy, who had a really good year for them. They've got Elijah Moore, who's kind of just like always, we're expecting him to do more, and he never really does. David Bell, young and upcoming. Cedric Tillman had some flashes, young and upcoming. And that's about it. And then they do have David Njoku at tight end still, which, you can just kind of count as a sort of a receiver. But um,
Yeah. So Jerry Jeudy, who is under contract, non-void years till 2027. I don't think right now is the time to say they need a wide receiver.
no, they don't have any money. You got to draft a guy.
Yeah. So I would say
Edge, quarterback.
QB, tackle, offensive tackle, edge. And you want to flip that offensive tackle because you want the offensive tackle before the QB and the edge.
Okay. Offensive tackle, QB, edge. I like that list of priorities. But even if they get rid of Myles Garrett, they're effed on the cap.
Yeah. So they get rid of Myles Garrett, they're still effed on the cap. I mean, it's 24 million over the cap. I don't know if they can have a really real target. It's hard for me without any space. It's hard for me to say, well,
Yeah.
they can
I mean,
target
I'm
somebody.
sure they'd
It's
love to
definitely not.
bring back Jedrick Wills, but part of the reason he's on the top 101 is because probably because they can't pay him.
Yeah, and they're not signing anybody on the top 101. So
Yeah. I mean,
with
yeah, I guess looking at the quarterbacks, right? Like, would they throw a freaking dart at Jimmy Garoppolo or Jacoby Brissett, uh, or even fucking Daniel Jones for that matter? I don't know that they're going to be able to afford guys like Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, or Justin Fields. Certainly not Sam Darnold. Um, man, I mean, I think their dream scenario is that they get the discount with Cousins, right? Because
Mhm.
Atlanta's got to pay him anyhow. But even then, Cousins is probably smart enough to go somewhere else. So
Yeah, Cousins isn't going to Cleveland.
he just, and I say that because I've said it in past episodes, which is that he's got the connection with Stefanski, and he ran that offense really well with Stefanski. But that's not enough to, you're not taking a discount to go to Cleveland and waste a year of your time.
I I think looking at the top 101, sorry.
They're in trouble, dude.
If they can fit it, this is going to sound weird. If they can fit it, I think they go after Daniel Jones.
Let's pop him in there. Let's pop him in there just for shits and giggles because I could see him as a mobile quarterback. If you got a little bit of a weaker offensive line,
Hmm.
he can run Stefanski's play action offense. And, he's probably not going to take big money because, let's be real, he got shipped away from the Giants. And now, Minnesota's not making any effort to bring him back, obviously. I'm fine putting it in there as a hey, maybe.
Yeah, like if they can figure out the money, I think that's what they do because Daniel Jones isn't getting top dollar, and he really has to prove himself. So if he goes into a situation like Cleveland and has a decent year, he get him on a 1 year deal. He has a decent year, then he can turn around and get paid, or re-sign with them and still get paid.
Yeah.
Which then brings us to the Denver Broncos, who have a whopping almost 42 million in cap space.
Yeah, how they turned that around is beyond me, but fucking good for them, man.
Yeah, and so according to the article, their biggest needs are tight end, wide receiver, linebacker, safety, defensive tackle. I
I
I
mean, I know
would
Sean Payton would love to have the tight end, but it is a luxury, right?
Yeah, it is a luxury, but
Wide receiver, I think, is a bigger need. They did have some young guys step up, but Cortland Sutton, pretty long in the tooth. And man, you want to give your young quarterback some weapons, right?
so I would agree with wide receiver. Trying to think who they have on their offensive line.
Here, I'll pull it up.
See, one of the issues is they have all this cap space, but Sutton's only locked down through 2025.
hmm Yeah, and Sutton's getting, like I said, a little long in the tooth. I mean, offensive line, they could for sure use some help. They got Quinn Miners, Ben Powers, Garrett Bowles, and Mike McGlinchey. Yeah, that's not bad, I guess. You got
That's not
four,
bad.
you got four solid guys. Um, yeah, I'm
I,
not
w- I would
worried about the offensive line, I guess. At first, I saw a lot of red, but now I'm thinking, yeah, it's not so bad.
so
And then
when I
what were
look at
the
it,
other ones? They were
well, the offensive
defensive
line
tackle,
wasn't a
safety, and linebacker.
yeah. So I would agree defensive tackle.
Oh, they definitely need a defensive tackle, yeah.
And I think linebacker. And I'm torn between linebacker and safety. I think linebacker, because if I remember correctly, where they struggled and where their defense struggled, which it didn't struggle much this year, but it struggled against the run.
Yeah. So what do you think? Wide receiver, defensive tackle, linebacker, top three?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Let's do it. I like that top three. I think that makes good sense for them. And so then if we're looking at their, their ideal candidates, I mean, oh my God, they could make the splash and go after Milton Williams at defensive tackle, but would they spend that money? You know, Sean Payton was more spending the money on the edge guys in New Orleans, right? But
Hmm.
so maybe he would go after a linebacker over
Yeah,
that.
that's
Well, who do we have at wide receiver? I guess let's start there. T.
so. Wide
Higgins is probably going to be gone.
Chris Godwin, Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is not going to Denver.
No, and I've
Stephon
been
Diggs.
hearing that Tampa Bay wants to bring back Godwin. It's
Hmm.
just going to be tricky with the cap.
Diggs. The thing with Diggs is
He runs his mouth, man.
runs his mouth too much. Hollywood Brown hasn't really had.
Yeah, he's not consistent.
He's not consistent. Darius Slayton hasn't been.
I mean, I could kind of see Mike Williams being like Cortland Sutton-esque in
Yeah.
terms of he's a limited volume, but he's a good possession receiver. Maybe you double down on that, and then you have some options after this year on which way you go. I'm not like thrilled with any of these other guys. Maybe Josh Palmer. I do like Josh Palmer. Man, the wide receivers this year kind of pretty dicey. Oh, Elijah Moore is a free agent from Cleveland. I don't know that they would go after him though.
So I'm gonna go, and this also depends on what happens with them. I could see them trying to make if if somehow these players escape their team at linebacker. The only two that I could see them really going after, and they have the space to do it, would be Bond and Greenlaw.
Oh, I think they'd love to get Nick Bolton, steal him away from Kansas City.
Yeah, that's another one too. I didn't even see Nick Bolton there. So I think linebacker is definite possibility. I also think it's not on the list of top three, but like I want to see his production last year.
Yeah, Zach Bond had a great year in Philly. I just wonder, for the top linebacker available, part of me thinks that his best fit is going to remain in Philly. And I gotta believe they're going to be motivated to try and bring him back so they can make another run. But that doesn't mean Denver wouldn't try to go after him.
I'm actually going somewhere a little bit off the path.
Okay,
This I want to double check something.
sure. But yeah, I'd be fine trying to slot them with any of the top defensive tackles or linebackers.
Oh, oh yeah, yeah. All right, this is a player that he drafted. I could see him going after Jawan Johnson. At least,
Oh, at tight end?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, oh, he is on the top 101. Let's slate him in there as like their third option because I
Where
don't know that that's like a critical signing for them. I think that they would prioritize the defensive tackle or the linebacker. but I do like that connection.
Yeah, I was looking at it and like it just for some reason it
Yeah,
was
that makes sense. I'm sure he wants more of like a gimmick guy like Taysom Hill, but Juwan Johnson would at least give him some familiarity and some comfort of a traditional, reliable kind of tight end guy. So yeah, I mean, let's just at linebacker, you know, of the three here, Zach Bond, Drake Greenlaw, Nick Bolton.
so I think and this is how I see it. I think the answer is the top linebacker remaining.
Sure.
Because like we talked about last week, Bond and Greenlaw could theoretically be tagged, so that would leave Bolton. But if Greenlaw's not tagged, then I think they might go after him. Or if Bond somehow escapes Philly, like Greenlaw is a player that you could put in there and he could be your coach on the field at defense.
Yeah, and I do wonder because I think Nick Bonito stepped up and was like really their guy at linebacker last year, but I also think if you have a chance to add one of these guys, you do it,
Hmm.
right? My opinion is Bond's going to stay in Philly somehow. Howie Roseman will figure that out.
Yeah. Oh, I 100.
Greenlaw could escape San Fran, and Bolton could escape KC. Both of those are going to be cap situations, and who knows what the heck they got going on. Plus, San Fran already has Fred Warner there. Like they could let Greenlaw go, and it wouldn't be the end of the world. I know they love him, but um, I mean, I would go Nick Bolton. If we got to pick a name, but what do you think, man?
I agree with. Well, I probably would go Bond if you had to pick a name, but
Okay.
that's because. But I don't think there's a chance in hell that Bond's going to get out of Philadelphia.
Well, let's just put him in there as their top target, and if it's not him, it's one of these other guys, like you said. I'm good with that. Swing for the fences, and if it doesn't work, you got some good fallback options.
Yeah.
And then at defensive tackle, I think it's a similar deal, man. I think Milton Williams is going to get some big money. If you wanted to tone it down a little bit, you go after like Javon Hargrave. I don't know if I would go after anybody lower than that if I'm them. Maybe Jerron Reed, although Tershawn Wharton had a good year too. Um,
And I just
would they blow the load on Milton? Probably not.
probably not.
I'm thinking they're going to be like Hargrave, Reed, or Wharton.
It's going to sound. This is going to be another one that I'm disagreeing with you on.
That's fine. That's why we're doing this.
I think there's a player out there that is getting pretty long in the tooth, but I think he's trying to hang on to find that championship team. And I think if you have the right pieces in Denver to be a championship team, and if you have the right pieces, you might be able to convince him to take less money for
Sure.
that chance at a championship.
You talking
That's
Calais Campbell?
yeah.
I like him, but I think he's a part-time player. But we can put him in here. I'm sure he's waiting for a team to call him. Let's put him in here.
Well, you say he's a part-time player, but
At this stage of his career, I think he's making that transition, man.
I want to. That's what I wanted to look up was his snap count because I thought. Uh,
57% of the snaps.
which is about what you want out of your defensive line because you want to rotate them in and keep them fresh. Like that feels ideal to me.
Okay, let's put them in there.
Like you look at like defensive ends, like Ogba and Sealer had 60-70% of the snap, but everything else is not that high.
Yeah,
I'm
I
saying
got you.
if you can get the right pieces to convince him, because I think you could get him for less money than and get some good production out of him still. All right. Then that brings us to the Houston Texans, which they have about $5 million in cap space. Where the fuck are they on this? There they are. So, wide receiver, guard, defensive tackle, cornerback, offensive tackle. So, I could see wide receiver.
All right, hang on. Sorry, I'm catching up. Where are they at with cap space? 4.95.
5 million.
And then we got what do we have for team needs for these guys?
Wide receiver, offensive guard, defensive tackle, cornerback, offensive tackle. I could really see wide receiver here because Diggs and Woods are free agent. Tank Dell's coming back from a knee injury. You don't know what he's going to get. So really all they have is Nico Collins.
Yeah, and I mean he's a legit number one, but yeah, you
He's
want
a
to have
legit
some
number
depth.
one, but you want somebody to pair with him. I think their needs really are all offense. I would say I'd probably go offensive tackle, wide receiver, offensive guard.
Just pulling up their guys here on lineups. I mean, yeah, the thing is the defensive line, they don't have shit at tackle, but they do have two really fucking good defensive ends. And then at cornerback, they do got Stingley and a couple of guys. Yeah, so say that order again.
Offensive tackle, wide receiver, offensive guard. I'm flexible on where guard
Yeah, and I
goes in
think
there.
what's going on with Tunsil is still there, so we're looking at a right tackle,
Mm-hmm.
unless they're like planning on grooming a guy. But yeah, let's just say right tackle, wide receiver, and then offensive guard.
All right.
And they don't have much room to play with, unfortunately.
Yeah.
With that being the case, if they're going offensive line, they're probably going at one of these guards. Aaron Banks leaving San Francisco, he had a pretty good year for them. You know, you might be able to get him for a decent price tag. Um, Wide receiver, if you're looking for, you know, this is another one where if you're looking for sort of like supplementary guys, I do like Josh Palmer because
Mm-hmm.
he's not going to be asking for anywhere near big money, but he's been a good contributor. I don't know if you want to go after a retread like Keenan Allen or DeAndre Hopkins because you just had the Diggs thing fail for you. Um,
I was looking for wide receiver. I was kind of looking at Elijah Moore.
okay, yeah, I was actually just thinking Darius Slayton for a second if you wanted some speed, but yeah, I guess Nico Collins is kind of like your big deep threat. Maybe you have a guy like Elijah Moore be your underneath guy,
Yeah,
and that
that's
would
that's
fit him well.
that's kind of where I was thinking with it because like I thought about Darius Slayton for the speed, but they tried the speed having the two speed guys with Collins and Diggs, and it didn't really work out.
Yeah, let's go with Elijah Moore. I'm good with that.
And then offensive, I think you're
I
done
mean, they're not
after
going to be
that.
able to pay one of these tackles, man.
Yeah, none of these tackles are going to be able to pay. Like, I mean,
I don't even
if
know if they could pay any of these guards, but if they did, it'd be one near the bottom, you know.
yeah, I don't think they can. I don't think they can pay any of them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Let's just put Elijah Moore in there and leave it at that, man.
All right. And then we go to the Colts, who have 35 million in cap space. And what are their team needs? Let's see. There's a glaring one that should be fucking on this list.
Yeah, and I mean we can add that to it because I think it needs to be addressed.
All right. So Indianapolis's number one need is quarterback. I don't care what the fuck this list says.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Interior offensive line, tight end, cornerback, linebacker, safety.
Tight end I drop. It's a luxury thing. Yeah, it'd be good to have one, but come on. We're not gonna, you know, you got to build your trenches and do other stuff before you got to worry about tight end.
Yeah. So with with tight end, they have a couple serviceable tight ends as it is. They have a serviceable tight end at Mo Alley Cox.
Yeah.
So that's not really a need. Interior offensive line is a definite need.
Yeah, and I think linebacker is up there.
I agree.
So IOL linebacker, let's do that. So QB, IOL linebacker. This is another one of the Cousins potential landing spots, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. It is. They have the money to spend. What I'm honestly honestly seeing rumors that they're Russell Wilson is a potential there. They're not going to go. They're not going to go after Brissett. He'd be a retread. They're not going to go after Daniel Jones because he's not better than Anthony Richardson. They're not
Man,
going to go after Jimmy G because he's not better than Anthony
what
Richardson.
about what about Justin Fields though? Let's just talk about it because you're getting two somewhat similar style quarterbacks where you don't have to mess with the playbook. You know, in
Yeah.
Russell Wilson in his younger years, I'd say maybe, but he's not mobile like he used to be. I mean, I could see Fields coming in there and that being a legitimate
hmm
quarterback competition.
Yeah. As you were saying that, I'll put him in there as
And that's probably his only shot at starting somewhere.
yeah. And I think they try to make the splash like if especially I think they try to upgrade at they have the cap space. Would you do that? Wow. All right. How so their center is a free agent, but
Yep.
I think you try to re-sign him or what you have coming behind him.
Yeah, he's been good for them, but if you want to switch it up, you got to, yeah, you got to find somebody.
No, but I was looking here because the signing Justin Fields, that's not going to be a massive contract. Do they make a strong play for Trey Smith?
Mm, I'm going to say no, only because if you got two mobile quarterbacks, maybe they deprioritize it a little bit. I think if they brought in a guy like Cousins, then yeah, you would be thinking that. Although I don't know. No, no, I guess now that I'm thinking about it, because they still have Jonathan Taylor,
Mm-hmm.
But
They still have
honestly,
Jonathan Taylor.
if they were going to go that road where you're thinking keep the line strong for Jonathan Taylor, then you probably want Mekhi Becton or Patrick McCarry. And then you're saying, hey, if the pocket breaks down, our quarterback can get out and do what he's got to do. I think if you're going Trey Smith, you're thinking you have more of a traditional pocket passing kind of quarterback. Because that's what he was with Kansas City, and he was really good at it.
Well, because what I was thinking, because Mahomes is a mobile quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, at times he for sure is.
Because I mean, you're not going to go below the if you're going to let Will Fries walk, you're not going to go after Mekhi Becton or Patrick McCarry. If you're letting Will Fries walk, you're trying to make the splash there. Otherwise, you're just going to re-sign Will Fries.
It's true. I don't know, man. I'm not.
I'm not feeling any of them really.
Yeah, and
The
then
more
even at
I think about it, the more I talk about it. I think they make the splash at the quarterback. Maybe try to make a splash at linebacker. Not the splash, a semi splash at quarterback, and like go after like
I mean, they'd be, you know, well suited to go after a linebacker. They've got Zaire Franklin, who's been good for them, and EJ Speed. But pretty much since they lost what's his face the other year, they've been kind of lacking there.
I'm gonna say that their second target. I would say probably Bolton.
I like that. I like that. Let's put him in there, man. I think that would be better for them than prioritizing an offensive lineman if you're going to go the mobile quarterback route like that.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to prioritize an offensive lineman, I think like you're kind of arguing maybe it's they
Oh,
just go back to the well with what they had. Re-sign some of those guys.
yeah. Right. Then we have the Jaguars, who have 38.5 call it million in cap space. Team needs corner, safety, interior offensive line, wide receiver, quarterback.
I'm pulling them up on lineups.
I don't know how
They do, man. All right, and they brought in an offensive-minded head coach.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, dude, to me, you prioritize the offensive side of it.
Well,
You
yeah,
got to
that's
protect. You got to protect fuckface at quarterback.
so no, but this is what I'm thinking with them. I think quarterback is a sneaky higher priority than people realize. Because there were a number of games last year where Trevor Lawrence cost them the game. The
Yeah, but
defense played.
they're
The
not gonna
defense.
they're not gonna go crazy and bring in like Darnold or somebody, dude. They would draft a guy in like a mid round, and then if Lawrence fails again this year, then they'd make the move. But didn't they just fucking sign him, like extend him?
Yeah, and so I think
They're
also.
not, dude. They're not gonna rock that boat right now.
All right,
They're
so if
they're
you're gonna do
bringing
that,
in Liam Cohen to try to course correct Trevor Lawrence, and so the first year with him there, They're going to try to insulate him with talent. And then if it's not working, then they would go to like a plan B, I think, after
Yeah,
that.
and so with that, I would say their number one priority. I'm torn between the two. Let's talk it out. I think they really only have two top priorities, like you said, and you're going offensive line because I think their defense played well enough last year to not make that as high of a priority as I think. Maybe you're going through the draft for corner and safety. Um, Interior offensive line and wide receiver. You need the
Yeah.
weapons for Trevor Lawrence. You want if you're going that route where you want Trevor Lawrence to be the guy and you want him um, to turn it around, then I think and I'm torn because he was hit a lot too, and that's where I'm struggling on it. So let's look at their interior offensive line. They have Ezra Cleveland, Mitch Moore, and Brandon Scherf, who's a free agent. So that's where the interior offensive line need is. It's right guard. Wide receiver, they have Brian Thomas Jr. So you're looking at a number 2, really, because Brian Thomas Jr. had a great year.
Yeah, damn, he did have a really good year.
And you have Christian Kirk and Gabe Davis.
Yeah, Gabe Davis did nothing for him, unfortunately, but you would have thought he would have been. And maybe he'll be better this year in a more traditional 3 role now that he has more time. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think the offensive line is definitely the priority.
Yeah. And then like cornerback and safety. And I'm looking at their depth
I
chart
don't
from
know,
last.
dude. It's weird because it says interior offensive line, but I think tackle is the bigger need for them. They've got nobody at
But
tackle.
that's the thing. The reason why it says interior offensive line is because Brandon Scherf's a free agent.
Then I would double down on the offensive line.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I would change the team needs. Let's just take out wide receiver. Let's go offensive tackle, offensive guard, and then we can put defensive back as a third.
I would still put wide receiver as the third.
Okay.
I think
And with 38 million, they've got some options. Um, they're not going Cam Robinson because they got rid of
yeah,
him.
he was there. Trevor Lawrence, I think this plays right into it. Trevor Lawrence is not that mobile.
No. I could see them going after a Lark Jackson or even maybe doing a 1-year deal on Tyron Smith and then trying to find a guy in the draft for the future because none of these guys are like really like long-term worthy offensive tackles for what Jacksonville needs. And then I could see them making a splash at guard or center.
Yeah, so when I looked at it and the comment with him not being that mobile was
I mean, he's athletic. He just hasn't done a lot with it, right?
yeah. So and that's where I was coming with Trey Smith.
Yeah, I think Trey Smith would be great for them, especially if they can't bring back Scherf.
Well, I think Trey Smith would be an upgrade for them over Scherf.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But like what I'm saying is, in their best scenario, it's somehow they get both of those guys.
Yeah, sure.
Or they get one of them and a tackle. You know.
Yeah, and I like your Tyron Smith idea.
Let's do Trey Smith and Tyron Smith, man. And let's put Trey Smith as the top because they can build on him. And I'm sure Tyron Smith would love having another year in the league. And, he would have almost no competition at left tackle there. It's just a matter of can he stay healthy.
Yeah. All right. Then we're on to the Super Bowl runner-up Kansas City Chiefs, who have let's just call it $8 million in cap space. And their team needs defensive tackle, offensive guard, offensive tackle, wide receiver, edge.
They
Gone.
do have a lot of people leaving this year, and so um, it is going to be we were talking about it a couple weeks ago with will they have a Super Bowl hangover or Super Bowl slump or whatever. When I saw their list of free agents, I kind of thought, shit, if it's ever going to happen, this could be it because they're losing a lot of guys, especially on defense.
Yeah, they're losing a lot on defense, but I think more of a need for them. I'm going to just put their number one need offensive tackle, point blank. That's a huge need for them. Their
Well, with
offensive
how they
tackle,
got exposed in the Super Bowl, yeah.
yeah. Um, with assuming Trey Smith is leaving, hmm, I would put defensive tackle next.
Yeah,
And
Tershawn Wharton's going to be gone probably. Yep.
the only defensive tackle they have under contract for 2025 is Chris Jones. I don't
Yeah.
know. I might fuck. I might put defensive tackle higher. I might flip that.
I think you got to prioritize protecting Mahomes.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'd go offensive tackle, defensive tackle,
And
offensive
then
guard
all right.
if it was
Yeah.
me.
Number three was guard. I just when I saw that
They just don't
Cisco.
have a lot of money to play with.
Yeah, but this what's going to happen is Mahomes is going to restructure his deal. They're going to add 22 void years, and they're going to be good.
Yeah.
Um, I'm kidding about the 22 void years, but who knows? Offensive tackle wise, and I'm completely running this under the assumption that Ronnie Stanley is gone or is
Yeah,
off the.
they wouldn't be able to pay him either.
Well, no, they wouldn't be able to pay him, but he's not going to hit free agency. Baltimore would be
Yeah.
dumb to let him hit free agency. Cam Robinson, Cam
He's
Robinson
not
had
that
a
good, man. I don't know how he's ranked that high.
he had a decent year last year, but that's where I was going with it. He's not really that good. He was like 2 3 years ago when he was in Jacksonville. He had a couple phenomenal seasons, but it's tailed off since he got paid. Because I think it was like 2 years ago we were talking about how Jacksonville would be stupid to let him walk in free agency, and they had to use the franchise tag on him. So then you're looking at Alaric Jackson, Dan Moore.
Yeah, I could see Dan Moore being sort of like a bargain signing potentially.
And then for offensive guard, like I think if they had any way to find cap space, I think Trey Smith would be
Bringing him back, yeah.
bringing him back. Like I think you're looking,
I think they would find a way to do it too.
yeah. So I think Alaric Jackson is probably their number one target. Like I said, I'm assuming Stanley's, and then I'm gonna say Zeitler at guard. You bring him in as a stopgap,
Get him on a deal.
get him on a deal, draft his replacement.
Okay, let's plug him in.
Third, like I mean, it's really hard.
No, we can't go to a third, dude. They don't have any money, man.
Yeah. All right. So then the Raiders, they have, let's call it 100 million in cap space.
Fucking yeah.
It's 99.526 or whatever the fuck it is, and needs quarterback, yes.
Jimmy G, baby.
Safety,
Oh
interior
my
offensive.
God. If
Oh wait, no.
Tom Brady had them bring in Jimmy G.
Wasn't Jimmy G already there and they got rid of him because he sucked?
Oh, Jimmy G was backing up Stafford, but you're right. He was with the Raiders and they got rid of him. That would be nuts if Tom Brady brought back Jimmy G. But yeah, wide receiver for sure. Running back, cornerback, defensive tackle. They got a lot of fucking needs. They got a lot of fucking
Yeah.
needs. I mean, pretty much everything is a need for them.
So, can you look up their lineups for
Yeah, I'm pulling it up
defensive
right now.
tackle?
For
'Cause
tackle, I know they got Colton Miller is one of them, which is good. So on offensive line, Colton Miller definitely is solid. And then they've got like a lot of like guys with potential, but they were a
no,
little
defensive
dicey,
tackle.
like
Def
Andre James, Cody
defensive tackle,
Whitehair.
not offensive tackle.
Oh, defensive tackle.
Yeah.
They signed Christian Wilkins in free agency last year. He was the big signing.
Yeah. So they have John
But
Jenkins
he didn't
and
have as
Christian
great of a
Wilkins.
year as they were hoping for. You know, you got him and Max Crosby on the defensive line, and then Malcolm Kuntz is, you know, a free agent that they've been talking about maybe trying to bring him back. Um, I mean, they
I
brought
think
in Pete
looking
Carroll.
looking at it, I think corner back.
I think Pete Carroll's going to want a running back, dude. Of course, I don't even know, were there any? Oh yeah, there was like Nick Chubb and yeah, there were some running backs. I'm not necessarily saying Nick Chubb. I would give Nick Chubb a chance. I think Pete Carroll's going to want a veteran running back he can rely on, and
Right.
probably even draft one too. Um, you know, who is that? Najee Harris? He's not spectacular, but he's reliable.
I was thinking Aaron Jones.
I like Aaron Jones. He gets hurt though. So you think him over Harris for Pete Carroll? You know, remember Pete Carroll had beast mode. Maybe he thinks Harris could be a little more power in the backfield.
Yeah, but they don't have the. Well, in that case, then you have to add offensive line to needs too, because they don't have the offensive line to have a power running game. Their running game this year is looking more at a finesse running game than a power running game based on who they have at offensive line.
Yeah, I don't think that's Pete Carroll's style of play though.
No, I know it's not Pete Carroll's style of play, but you got to remember Pete Carroll did that at USC with Reggie Bush.
Yeah, college to pro, totally different though, man.
Right, but I'm not. I know it's totally different, but what I'm saying with it is Pete Carroll has done it before. It was in college, but he can do the
Okay,
finesse run
okay.
game.
You want to beat me up on it? Um,
You could
so
go
let's
with
just
like
let's just
kind of
nail
in
down
the
the needs. Let's say quarterback for sure, and
quarterback,
then
wide receiver, running back.
quarterback, wide receiver, running back.
Yeah, that's the way I saw it. Like on the list, some of them, like I agree, like they
Okay.
kind of do need a cornerback. They only have they have Jack Jones and the the uh, Decamarion Richardson.
Yeah.
They don't have another. They don't have a backup for Jack Jones, but I think they addressed that in the draft. Um, for the defensive tackle, I think they give Wilkinson another
Oh, they're for
year.
sure giving Wilkinson time. I mean,
No, like giving him the time to develop. They're not
yeah, I mean,
gonna.
he had like the biggest contract in free agency last year.
Right. But here's the thing with their cap space is their owner is notoriously cheap.
Okay.
Also on it. So I don't think with the failed Jimmy Garoppolo, with the failed with
They're probably drafting a quarterback, right?
But therein lies another problem. They're going to have to trade up to get one of the I think there's two quarterbacks that have potential, NFL potential, and I think they're going to have to trade up to get him.
I mean, who are you going to sign? You got Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. You know, you're really going to say that fucking Russell Wilson's better than them? I mean, you were just saying that they're not going after Jimmy G again. They're not going to pay Sam Darnold. Maybe they would. Maybe they
Why
would.
the fuck is Kuiper's fucking mock draft premium content on fucking ESPN?
It's stupid. His has been for a long time, but all right. You know what? No, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe they would go after Sam Darnold on a shorter, like 2-3 year deal. Not crazy, but that gives them the ability to either draft and develop if a guy falls to them that they like, or fill in other needs this year and then draft a guy next year. I actually think that could be a good spot for Sam Darnold.
I think it could be too. I like it.
Let's put him in there. And I think Pete Carroll might say, "Hey, I got a veteran quarterback."
I think wide receiver they go more after in the draft. And just
And then let's put in Aaron Jones. I'm fine with that. I think he wants some veteran people that he can trust on offense, and I'd be good with both of those. I think the wide receiver thing is dicey. You're right. I think they gotta.
all right.
You know, it just, man, it wouldn't hurt to have someone. I mean, who the hell do they have at wide receiver? Jacoby Myers.
I was looking and then I forgot. I looked at all the other positions. So wide receiver they have Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, DJ Turner.
I would just plug in one of these guys just to say they got the space. Pete Carroll's, he doesn't have like 100 years left to be coaching.
You know what?
If a team's going to blow the load, it might be them, dude. Although you said they got a cheap owner, so.
Yeah, and that's what I was looking at it. Like when you look at the wide receivers, like I find it hard to believe that Godwin's going to be an actual free agent. They're not going to go after Amari Cooper. They're not going to go after Stephon Diggs. They're not going after Marquise Brown. This could be.
So let's not. These aren't great targets for him after that.
I think Darius Slayton, depending on who they get at quarterback, I think if they have a running game and you have Darius Slayton that can extend the field and Sam Darnold that can throw the ball downfield.
Deal. Let's put him in.
I think that might be a good fit to really help that offense and help Carroll in his first year while he tries to figure out his power running game.
Okay, I'm good with that. Boom, he's in there.
All right, so then we have the Chargers, 67 million in cap space. Team needs edge, defensive tackle, center, safety, tight end.
Yeah, so Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. I mean, Joey Bosa, they're talking about might be a cut candidate. So edge, I think for sure.
Yeah, I guarantee, I 100% agree. Edge.
I could see Harbaugh spending on center because, he's a trench guy.
Yep, I agree there.
I don't know that he's going to go nuts about tight end, though.
Yeah, he's not going to go nuts about.
But would he go after a safety or a defensive tackle as his third priority? That's a question. Let's look at their Let's look at the roster.
Without looking at the roster, my first instinct says defensive tackle because, like you said, he's a trench guy.
Yeah, and he did talk highly of Poona Ford, who is a free agent. Oh my God, they got nothing at defensive tackle. Yeah. Yeah, I think we got to make that number 3.
But here's the thing, though, is because they run a 3-4, is Poona Ford? Yeah, he would be a good fit there. Well, he was
Well,
from there.
he was there last year, so
Yeah.
But would they try to upgrade it is the question. With that kind of cap space, okay, Herbert continues to get banged up, and so I'm just kind of looking at center right off the bat. Drew Dahlman is good. He was good for Atlanta. Would they spend the money on him?
I think they would.
I do
That's
too.
who I was zeroing in on first.
Protect your franchise quarterback first.
Yeah.
And then I've heard that they want to bring back Khalil Mack, but let's just look at their options at edge and defensive tackle. I mean, because they've got some serious flexibility with that cap space, man.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out. I think they could. It's hard pressed for me to see Philly finding a way to keep all 4 of their big 4.
Yeah, I agree. And we talked about Milton Williams before, where they've got Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis already, so he could end up being the odd man out.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly where I was going with that. I think that could be their 2. Like they have the cap space for a 3rd, but I'm not really liking the edge.
Yeah, they'd
guys.
be spending some money. They could probably get Khalil Mack back on a deal.
They could probably get Khalil Mack back on a deal. They might be able to get Chase Young on a deal, but I don't know if I would.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I would do that.
Or they steal Charles Omenihu from Kansas City. But let's put in Milton Williams. So you got Dahlman and Milton Williams. I mean, that's a lot of splash for trenches. Anyhow, splash for you and me, not for the average folk.
All right. Then that brings us to the Miami Dolphins.
Okay.
Who have a whopping $722,000 in cap space.
Oh, at least they're in the black, I guess.
Yeah. So off the bat, top 5 needs. I don't really see quarterback as a need as they did a backup maybe, but you're not going to make a splash on that.
No, you're in bed with Tua, whether you like it or not.
So, safety, defensive tackle, offensive guard, linebacker.
Yeah, I would put offensive guard number 1 because you're in bed with Tua.
Yeah, exactly. That's 100% where. But who the fuck are you going to get?
All right, and then let's see.
Defensive tackle, I think so.
Safety,
I think I'd put defensive tackle
linebacker. They did let Wilkins walk last year, and Calais Campbell's gone, so defensive tackle definitely is up there. And we would prioritize that over defensive backs. Yeah, let's go defensive tackle 2.
Well, actually, hold on. Linebacker.
I think that would be 3.
Yeah, but well,
I don't know. They got Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, Anthony Walker, Jordan Brooks. They've got guys. It's just that some of these guys are playing on the edge for them, and they're listed a linebacker.
Anthony Walker's a free agent.
Oh, yeah.
But they still have Chubb,
And
Jordan
they've already
Brooks.
pretty much,
Brooks.
like the indications are they're going to let Javon Holland walk. So I'm not like
Yeah.
crazy worried about safety for them. If they're going to let him walk, it means they're comfortable with Poyer for another year and finding
Hmm.
someone else.
Exactly. But then again, we're coming into they need cap space to do anything.
Oh yeah, yeah. I guess that's at the end of the day. That's all that matters, right?
Yeah, I can't say they're going to go after or they have any of these
Anybody?
targets because they have no money to pay them. If they're going to make signings at this position, it's definitely not in the top 101.
Yeah, they got to look to the draft.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then we're on to the New England Patriots, who have a whopping 128 million in cap space.
Fuckers.
All right, we can just top three: offensive tackle, interior offensive line, guard, and center.
Offensive tackle, offensive guard, offensive center.
Yeah, because what they got to do is they got to protect Drake May. Yeah, wide receiver, that could be a luxury to get somebody in to actually throw, but he did pretty well last year without really having anybody to throw to.
Got shit beeping here. Um,
This is a team that has the cap space to make huge splash and upgrade that offensive line. The question is do they do it?
I'm just scrolling their team on lineups here because they're bringing in a defensive-minded coach, but Vrabel is smart enough to know you got to build a team. You can't just go after one side of the ball. I'm with you. I think it's all offensive line. And if they go beyond that, maybe they go after a wide receiver just because they've been so goddamn bad at finding wide receivers.
Uh-huh. But they've also been so goddamn bad at finding wide receivers in free agency too.
Well, that's why you double down. You do one in free agency, one in the draft. All right, so it's a matter of offensive linemen. Um, you know,
And how big of splash they're going to make. I think one thing they're looking at is they're looking at building. So you're looking at more younger, up and coming offensive linemen.
yeah, that's
Than
where Drew Dahlman at center could be another target here.
Yeah, that's the person I was 100% zeroing in on as number one.
Yeah, give your quarterback a center that he can play with for a long time. So let's put
Yeah,
him at one. Cam Robinson is still fairly young at tackle. I just don't trust him that much. And
I
I,
don't
I don't
trust.
know that I would give him a big deal at this point because Jacksonville let him go and Minnesota let him go. Something's wrong with him. Alaric Jackson had a good year with the Rams, but man, is he a one-year wonder kind of guy? Ugh. Would they try to steal Trey Smith? That's a building block piece.
That is a building block. I'm comfortable putting him in.
I think they should go after all these top guys. Yeah, let's do Trey Smith. And then
I was trying.
I could even see him going after another guard like Tevin Jenkins, if Chicago can't bring him back. Or maybe they go Mekhi Becton and they say, "Hey, if we need to push you out to right tackle for a game or two because injuries, we could do it." But Becton's a guy where you kind of got to keep him on a short leash, right? Because he had such a rocky start to his career.
Hmm.
Jedrick Wills, was a proven solid tackle in Cleveland. Maybe that's where they go. He can lock down the right side for him, but he's not going to be like a 5-year contract guy. He's going to be like a 2 or 3-year contract guy.
I have a weird thought here. I just want to look something up.
Do it to it.
I don't like that anymore. I think I'm going to say they're going to go after those two, and they're going to look for offensive tackle in the draft. You get the center, you get the guard, they're both. You get the center and you get the right guard. Who do they have at left? I'm just curious. Is it better to go after a left guard versus a right guard? You understand my debate there?
I'm back. Sorry. I was going to say, what about Vrabel going after a defensive lineman like Hargrave or an edge guy? Because let's be honest, man, he's going to want to build both trenches.
Yeah, I like that.
It's just, where do we go? Edge? I mean, they got a ton of money. Maybe they go after like the big guy, Josh Sweat, even though I'm not thrilled that you would want to spend a ton of money on him. I don't think you touch Hassan Reddick with a 10-foot pole after his bullshit.
Yeah, I think they go tackle.
Hargrave or Osa Adigazuzurwala.
I'd say Hargrave.
I mean, if they're building for the future, it's Osa. But if they're looking short term and then drafting, it'd be Hargrave.
Yeah, no, I hear you there. I had them flipped in my head. I'll go with Osa.
Let's put him in there because they just have so much money that if someone's going to do it, it would probably be like, they're good, well suited to do it. Oh, I lost you on one of my AirPods.
All right, so we're on to the Jets, who have about $24 million in cap space. Number one need, QB.
Okay.
Can you hear me on your other AirPod?
Yeah, I'm just getting it worked out right now. I just turn up the volume a little bit. Okay, so they got 23.9 million.
Yeah, 23. Call it 24 million. Number one need, quarterback. They're not going after Sam Darnold. They're looking at drafting a quarterback.
Yeah, they're not bringing back Sam Darnold.
Defensive tackle, offensive tackle, safety, cornerback. This is going to be a weird one because I don't think they have the pieces. Like they're not they're not going after Sam Darnold.
But could they go Jimmy G and have a veteran to guide a young quarterback? But that wouldn't be their top priority.
Yeah.
You got Aaron Glenn. Maybe he wants Levi Onwuzurike from Detroit coming over. Probably not, but maybe. Or maybe he wants Carlton Davis coming over. Pair him with Sauce.
I'm struggling with them. Um,
I mean, I want to give Aaron Glenn someone on defense, right?
yeah, I think corner.
To pair with Sauce.
Yeah,
He's got the familiarity with Carlton Davis.
he does, but I honestly kind of want the Lions to bring him back.
Well, he could be a target for both, you know. Um, Man, see, I don't know. It's weird that they got Davis above Ward. I think Ward's going to get some pretty good money. Um, DJ Reed is leaving.
I'd say okay. Where I have it is quarterback, cornerback, defensive tackle. I'm open to safety instead of corner back. Um,
So let's just put it as DB is there too.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I could see him going after one of the safeties. Um, but how much are they going to spend is the question.
so here's the thing with Aaron Glenn. He wants to play zone.
No, he likes,
No, he wants to play
man,
man. I'm
dude.
sorry. He wants to play man. So you need two phenomenal corners to do
Carlton
that.
Davis is his guy then.
Yeah.
Let's just plug him in for now. I do think we should look at a veteran quarterback, though.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
I mean, I think you go, in my opinion, maybe you go Russell Wilson, and then the idea is if the right guy is not there to draft, you can at least fall back on Russell Wilson holding down the fort for a year.
That's where I was going with it. That's exactly what my thought was on it.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we're aligned there.
Uh,
And then I don't know,
and
23.9 million, I'm not sure they got enough to keep pushing past that.
I'm not even sure they have enough to push to that. All right, then we
Probably
have
not.
the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have 60 million in cap space. They need a quarterback. Team need number one. Um,
Yeah, they're saying they want to bring back one of these guys
they
at
need
quarterback, but
offensive tackle. Team need number two. And
yeah, I mean, running back is kind of a need, but it could be a luxury kind of thing too, right? So
wide receiver. Team need number three.
somebody behind Pickens.
I don't think Pickens is long for that job. I see flashes, but he's way too inconsistent. This
You're
is
right, he is
another.
pretty goddamn inconsistent. Yeah.
I could see them going after Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I could see him being a target for them.
If somehow I can't imagine this happen. If somehow Ronnie Stanley somehow isn't re-signed or tagged by Baltimore, I could see them going hard after him. They've struggled finding a tackle. But I don't think that's a possibility.
I don't want to plug him in here because I just don't see it happening. But
They're not going to go. I don't I don't like Cam Robinson, so I'll go Alaric Jackson.
okay, yeah, they do kind of do like under the radar offensive line moves typically. Um, what about Travarius Ward at cornerback, man? I guess I want to see who else they got at cornerback because, well, they got Joey Porter Jr. They did bring back Cam Sutton. I mean, they're
Yeah, that
listing it as a need, but I don't see them going splash wise on it. I think they would love Travarius Ward, but I don't think they're splashing it for him.
yeah, I don't think they're making a splash at corner. I mean, they also have Dante Jackson,
Yeah. So it's a
Joey
need, but
Porter
it's
Jr.
lower. It's lower than two. And we've got it. We don't even have it on there. We got wide receiver anyhow. But would they take a chance on one of these free agent wide receivers? I mean, if you bring in Darnold, man, I'm just so sour on Cooper and Diggs and
Hmm.
Brown too.
Yeah, I'm sour
These
on
wide
them.
receivers are so dicey, man. And they had Mike Williams last year. They're not bringing him back. I don't think they go after any of these wide receivers.
I don't think so. If like Godwin or Higgins were to hit the open market, I could see them going after them.
Yeah,
But I don't. I find it hard that either of those two would hit the open market.
yeah, yeah. So let's just we'll leave it at those two for now. Darnold and Alaric Jackson.
All right.
Oh,
Then we have the Titans, last team, Tennessee Titans. I can hear you.
All right, I could barely hear you, but I'm trying to make it work.
Okay, so that's free agent matchmaker.
It's not on you, it's on me.
On to question of the week, which you kind of and you told me, so I'll just run with it. It was which team we could see making the biggest splash in the AFC in free agency.
Yes. Is it the Patriots because they got the most dough? I mean, we
No.
put some pretty good guys there for Denver, even though they're not huge money guys. You know, like I'm looking at it, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 teams that we picked 3 targets for.
I think it's one of those teams we picked 3 targets for. I think it's Vegas. And the reason why I say Vegas is because you have a 74, 75-year-old coach and you have to win now.
Yeah.
Yeah, Davis is notoriously cheap, but I think he understood when they hired Pete Carroll as head coach that this has to be a win now.
Yeah, now's the time.
You can't go in and rebuild. You have to spend the money. And I think that's why he hired Carroll, who knows how to coach to win, because he brought Tom Brady in, who has as a part owner, basically gave him part of the team. And they're doing all this because they want to win now and they want to get that Super Bowl. And you have like a 2-3 year window with Pete Carroll to win the Super Bowl. After like 2-3 years, you're gonna be basically starting over again with a new head coach.
Yep.
Maybe extend it out to 4 years. You're gonna have a new head coach in there. So if you're gonna pay Pete Carroll, you're looking to win now. You have the cap space. You have $100 million where you could make a big splash in free agency, in that win now mentality. That's why I think they're gonna go after all these top players that are in free agency to build up that roster and maybe even make some trades of some future draft picks to mortgage the future to win in this 3 year window.
Yeah, no, I like what you're saying. I'm not really sure how much else I could add to that or change that. You know, I did like the picks that we put in for Denver, but I think in terms of splash potential, it's either the Patriots or it could be the Raiders. And yeah, I mean, you know, the Raiders, you know, you definitely got Tom Brady in there. That on its own is kind of a splash, which kind of tells you that they're looking at it making a splash. And yeah, I mean, you hit it with Pete Carroll and everything like that. And so, even though our picks are maybe not the flashiest, I could see them doing more than what we picked and really being the team. So I'm good with you on that, man.
All right, sounds good.
All right,
Anything?
well, I think because of some tech issues on my end, we probably got to wrap it up here, but that's probably about all we had anyhow, huh?
Mm. Yeah, I think that's about all I had. So then next week we're on to the NFC free agent matchmaker. We'll go mostly alphabetical again with one team leaving it to the end. But aside that, I hope you have a good week. Those that watch to the end, hit that like, subscribe, get us more views, share it with your friends, get them to watch it, and we'll just keep doing this for fun anyway. So I hope you have a good rest of your week.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for wrapping us up there, James.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut hut hike.